Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again, and today we're going to take another look at Tides of War, because Battlefield 5 has been out for around 3 months now, and so by now we've probably started to get a good idea of what this live service actually means. In particular though, I want to focus on the chapter events and the weekly challenges, and whether or not they're fun and whether they're working. And this is something that I asked you guys on Twitter recently, and what I thought was interesting was that the response was pretty mixed. So that's what we're going to get into today. Alright, so to kick off, I just want to make the point that I think the majority of the community was pretty supportive of DICE's decision to scrap premium subscriptions in BF5. This was basically the old school way they delivered DLC for the last few games, which was locked behind a pretty hefty paywall, and it turned out that a lot of people just didn't bother with it. And so probably I think the best thing about the new Tides of War system is that it doesn't split the player base, meaning everyone will get to play on, for example, all of the new maps. And also, being that Tides of War is a live service, the content is supposed to be coming out weekly instead of all together, which keeps players coming back to see what's going on. Now, one of the biggest complaints people have about this, and one that I think is a pretty valid one, is that the content isn't really coming out fast enough. Because, I mean, in 3 months, which is effectively about an eighth of the life cycle of the live service, we've only seen one new map so far, and it isn't even on all of the modes. And I mean, that probably has a lot to do with the fact that DICE are still trying to balance out the existing content and iron out all of the bugs. But still, I think most players would probably agree it kind of feels like a drip feed, and even though I don't really have a huge issue with that, I know a lot of you guys watching this video probably do. Now, apart from the pace of the content delivery itself, I think the biggest issue that I can see being brought up in the community a fair bit is the weekly assignments. Because in a nutshell, they seem to be based around particular modes, classes, or weapon types, and what that's doing is completely ruining the natural meta game. For example, this week's assignments require you to play Frontlines, which is a mode that, as I've said in previous videos, a lot of people already don't understand. And not just that, there's also assignments requiring you to use MMGs. So just imagine what that feels like. Whole servers full of camping support players, making it impossible for people like me who actually want to play Frontlines to find a decent game. Now, obviously, servers full of machine gunners can get pretty annoying, but by far what I think is the biggest problem is the game mode-based assignments. Because especially with a mode like Frontlines, not only do you feel like you're not getting the proper experience because everyone else doesn't know what they're doing, it's also shutting down all of the other modes. The last few weeks, for example, have all been focused on Squad Conquest and Breakthrough, and so finding a Frontlines in those weeks here in Australia was basically impossible. And so rather than getting players to come back every week, one of the things I think Tides of War is actually currently doing at the moment is forcing players to take a break from the game for a few weeks because they can't actually find populated servers running their favourite game modes. Now, the one thing I think we all should be pretty optimistic about is the fact that Tides of War is a live service, and one thing that DICE have already said is that they will shape it based on what the community wants. And I think first and foremost, the main thing that I'm hearing in the community is that it's really, really important that DICE give us new maps as soon as they possibly can. Not just that, but I think they really need to work on including as many of the maps on as many of the modes as possible, because not everyone plays just Conquest. And I'm sure you guys have probably noticed the problem this creates on this channel over the last few weeks, because I've literally played nothing but the 3 maps available on Squad Conquest for like 2 weeks straight. Obviously, the other thing they really need to do is get rid of the weekly assignments with a hard focus on modes and on specific class and weapon types. And by that, I don't mean they should get rid of them at all. Like, for example, I think it's okay for them to have a Tides of War event for when a new mode comes out, but I just don't think they need to push the old modes at all like they're currently doing. Also, I think if they want to keep people playing from week to week, it's really important to have something more substantial as the weekly reward than just a single cosmetic item like we've seen a few times over the past few weeks. Because like I said before, a lot of people, including myself, are already opting out of the weekly events because they can't get into the modes they want to play. So to counteract that, DICE are really going to need to make them worthwhile. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think about the current state of the Tides of War challenges in Battlefield 5. And also make sure you let me know down below what you'd improve about Tides of War, because like I said, DICE are willing to make improvements in the future based on community feedback. As always though, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later and have a good one.